No, we'll have Julie feel instead of me coming up the stairs up and down from now on. Okay. Oh! Hi, Rich. Well, obviously we have same stage left for us. We have Mr. Weinstein. And I think everybody knows what episodes he's been in. Right? No. I'm getting on. No. Rich was in the Leave Home Part 2, Vietnam. He played Doc. And he also was Scott's shadow in A Leap for Lisa, the very stiff and to the letter Marine outside. And I'm waiting for one more sign back there. One more.
Give me a sign, I'm sick of filling. No, not you. Go back.
Your favorite evil hologram and your favorite ghost, Carolyn Seymour, and Brad Silverman has decided to come back also for one more day.
Wireless mics in the aisles for questions. If people would like to line up at the microphones, that way everyone will be able to hear. Yes. How about some cheers on stage for the stars? What a fun. They don't have chairs. They don't have chairs. They don't have mics.
In your home. They'll never come back.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. How are you? Remember me from yesterday?
Yeah.
I thought so. Just making sure they will remember me, you know. I remember you. Where's the other girl with glasses? Huh?
They ditched me. They're somewhere else. They went for lunch.
Where?
They're out to lunch.
Mentally.
That's what I want to really hear.
Yes, they need a chair for someone needs to ask a question, guys.
So, what you guys been doing lately? How's mom? How's dad?
Not my mom, my dad. You guys, I don't know if there's a question I haven't answered over the last day, yesterday.
Not everyone saw you yesterday. That's okay.
No, I didn't. I kept looking, I kept trying to find that one daily with Dean on the blue screen. I searched a little bit last night and finally gave up. I had too many other things I had to get on to. But I found some other stuff that I'm glad didn't get shown. It's surprised I got printed. It's X-rated. We just had to kick all the kids out.
I'll just cover the eyes. Is that
Thank you. You guys know my background pretty much because I've already talked to a lot of you yesterday. So I'll just stand back.
Yay.
Well, this is good. Hey, did you guys hear whatever this is? Did you guys file for me from yesterday that I can't talk? Well, you're funny. What am I supposed to do with it? Eat it?
Flip it on your shirt and stick the thing in your back pocket.
Say somebody knows.
I don't think they're turned on.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can't hear you. You have to turn it on. There should be a switch on there.
It says on. Both indicators, mic on, system on.
Now, what do I do now?
Where's Ziggy when you need him?
It's true. All right, so do you want a quick potted autobiography? I've been in LA now for 15 years. I came from London where I had a whole different career. I don't know if any of you guys saw a film called The Ruling Class, which is one that I did a long time ago. Isn't it a great movie? It's a great movie. And I also did a series over there for the BBC called The Survivors, which they're now reprising in English. My goodness, who's seen that? How many of you have seen? You're kidding. How phenomenal. Because what's happening, they've reprised it, so now they want me to go back and do a couple more to explain what happened to me. And they're going to go into a whole new series of it, so that should be really interesting. And it's an amazing science fiction concept. It's an amazing concept. It's not a science fiction concept. It's an amazing concept. I don't quite know who they're going to use as adversaries now that Russia and us are supposed to be on such good terms. So we'll see what happens there. But that was something that I did there. I did a lot of movies and a lot of television series in England, and then I came here. And I came just as it became unfashionable to be English. Nobody was English anymore when I arrived here, so I sort of was left to hang out and drive for a while. And then they decided that I could do lead, mean machine parts. So I started playing evil people only when I came to the States. I didn't play evil people back in England. Maybe we all walk around being quite really mean there, but I mean, I got here and there I was, suddenly being evil and mean and the control freak and all of that sort of stuff. And I had a wonderful time. I love playing those roles. I just love them. There's so much more substance to them, there's so much more meat to them, and you can really sort of chew the scenery and take center stage and show off and do all those great things. And so that's basically what I've done. I've done a lot of television here. Not too many movies, and a lot of theatre. I was on Broadway for a while, and I've done a lot of equity waiver theatre here. I find that equity waiver for me is fabulous because it means I really get to do wonderful roles in equity waiver. Nobody comes and sees them, but they're great fun for me to do. And television really is television is my substance. It's what keeps me going. And, but I managed, I mean, last year, for instance, I didn't do any television. I took off, I did some Star Treks, and then I went down and did some Shakespeare. I did art down in the park in San Diego. And tried to overtake the sea lions that all seem to be on the heat at the same time. And airplanes and lions and things, but that was fun. And since then it's been a bit quiet. I mean, we had Christmas and then the earthquake, so hello. This is LA, but that's been my life for 15 years. What else do you want to know? Shout at me.
What is equity waiver?
Equity waiver is when you do theatre for no money at all, but just to get your rocks off. That's basically what it is. It's 99 seat theatre. Nobody gets paid. You get $5 a week or something. Nobody comes and nobody gets paid, and we all do it for love. And it's an incredibly intense, concentrated experience. It's great fun. It's great fun.
What did you do on Broadway?
Hay Fever. I played Myra Arundel. Do you know the play?
I've heard the title.
Well, it's a wonderful play. It's not one of Howard. It's by Noel Coward. It's not one of his plays which is has most substance of the other, but it's a wonderful play to do. It's very fast. It's very sad. And I got to wear this blue velvet evening dress that was made for me, and I was known on Broadway as the dress. When I went to Joanne, I wasn't known as Carmen, I was just known as the dress. So it was great. That was funny. I did it with Roy Dupuis, Robert Troy, Rosemary Harris, Maya Dillon, Deborah Rush. So, I mean, and actually Scott Campbell too.
My thing's on the west side.
And then we went to Washington after we did all that. The Star Trek, I was in Contagion, First Contact, and Enemy of the People. I played a Romulan commander in two of them, the Torres. And Zars, and then I played a Malkorian scientist whose name I can't remember, if anybody, thank you, darling. Gosh, you see? And I mean, I love doing, the Star Treks I love doing too. I mean, they're incredibly hard work, and one spends hours putting that makeup on. But they're great fun, and they're a wonderful crew to work with.
Do you like playing evil parts?
I love playing evil parts.
She's good at it too.
I mean, there's not much else I can, really, people don't buy me as a sort of soft, sweet mom of 5. They don't buy me. Doing the laundry, it doesn't work. I've tried, it doesn't work. They buy me as strippers. They buy me as the senior side or the really powerful side. I don't hit the middle realm really well. I mean, I'd quite like to. I mean, I'd like to do it once or twice, but I always play, in Shakespeare I play the sort of demented daughter or the countess or the Scottish lady, I won't say her name because I'm kidding. Or her, or I play, the sort of stripper that makes good or something, it's always those parts, it's very odd. And stripper's not too much now, because I've gotten a bit leaner than I was when I was younger. It's not something I want to do. Yes? I knew somebody was going to ask me. Complicated question. I think, not that I was the writer and I wasn't in on why they decided to bring Zoe and Aaliyah in, but, they had to have a counterbalance to Dean and Scott. And I know that Deborah had something to do with Deborah Pratt, was that they wanted women as the nemesis to the other characters, because it's the force of evil and the force of good. And I think that's how we got created. And of course, we couldn't succeed, that's basically it. But we were the very beginning, I think, like everything, we managed to get the idea and the evil side of everything developed it, and that's how we came into, to create breadth to the series, I think. That's very small. I don't know, I have no idea. I love playing her. I'd like to have gone on playing her. I just wish we'd gone playing.
How do we find these presentations of equity theater? How do we track them down?
Oh, they're often in the paper. It's always in the paper. It's always in the LA Weekly or the Reader, or they're always around. And they have show listings of every play that's going on, equity play that's going on. And there are some wonderful ones going on right now. The Odyssey is a place to look for. Theatre Row in West Hollywood is somewhere to look for. The Matrix is another theatre that's great to work with. The Saffron Melrose, all of those. They've got some very good equity work.
So you said you started in a series in England and you played guest characters on series in the States. How is it different coming onto an existing series as a guest as opposed to developing your own character as continual?
Oh, it's very different. It is different, and yet it's not. The thing is, when I was doing series in England, you start off with you come in and you read all the stuff, and you get a chance to talk to all the producers, and you get to find out what their idea of the progression of the character is. Plus, they then, because you are committed to the series, they tend to write for you, and they tend to get to know you, and your own character tends to creep in. And this is what was happening towards the end of Zoe coming in. But here, you tend to have, you go in cold, you don't know anyone, you're only in there for 8 days, you've got to deliver the goods right there. The pressure is unbelievable. And luckily, with Quantum Leap, one was blessed with a cast and crew that were the most welcoming of any that I've worked with. And you never felt like an outsider. I never felt like I didn't belong. I never felt unwelcome. One was embraced, of course, because you relaxed, you did your best work, and they were a fabulous bunch to work with. They were really a fabulous bunch. And I loved it. Renee Elia was going to come, was going to come today, but she had to go and jump out of a plane. But she said to say hello, and she's in San Diego, Camp Pendleton, with the boys jumping out of the plane. So my girl. I sat there taking it safe, but she was always taking the risk. She was a good one. She really does do that in life. She's phenomenal. Yes? You mean a character, a play in particular? I would like to do a really good, rip-roaring farce that got everybody into the theatre roaring with laughter and had a few good old topical stuff going on for it. You know, I'd like people to come in and think and to laugh and to leave open and enriched and happy, you know. I mean, I don't have a particular play, an Alan Ayckbourn or a really good Thomas Alfred, or, you know, that's what I'd love to do. And I would also love to, there's a film that I'm writing which is to do with my grandmother's life story, and one aspect of it, which is very funny and a very small but very funny English film, which I will do eventually. And there's a one-woman show I have. And I want to produce some stuff, and I would love to change. You know, one of the things I loved about Quantum Leap is that it dealt with topical issues, and it made everybody think, and it always had a moral to it, and they were quite cutting edge, some of them, I thought, for primetime TV, or just after, you know, daylight TV. And it was such a good format and such a good idea that I think an audience can take more of that. We don't need to have this milquetoast patty stuff that we're all supposed to be mindlessly watching. And I think it's time that write to the network, write to them, write to the Lord, tell them, you know. And some more women's stuff. I mean, you know, there's this thing, you know, by the year 2000, 47% of women are going to be over 50. There's nothing for us out there. Yeah. You know, I don't tell people my age because they sit there and they think, God, she's too old. And I sit there, you know, but I am who I am, you know, and there's a lot of me out there. You know, I'm 46 years old, and I think by the year 2000, I'm going to be one of those women that's going to be 50. And I'm going to have gone through menopause, and I'm going to be kind of hot flat and all that stuff, you know. And my children will have grown, and I won't have them at home, and I won't have anyone to cook for, and I won't have, you know, children to talk to every night. And the change is phenomenal, and the change for us has to be addressed at some point. So, you know, write to the network, say you want a series about women, and say you want Karen. We'll have a series of it. We'll watch it. Okay, politics. Yes?
Have you ever considered directing?
Oh yes, I've considered a lot. Not film, theatre, and I did direct a couple of plays once, but I'm not very good. I get so caught up in the emotional moment that I forget about the objective overview. So what happens is that I become focused on that, and then we lose sight of the end of the play, I mean the rest of the play. And I mean that's one of the things that I don't have. What I do have is incredible patience, I discovered, which was phenomenal. And I didn't know I had that, because I certainly hadn't exhibited it in bringing up my children. So it was really a wonderful thing to discover, and it's a great thing to be able to take an actor who's a little insecure, a little nervous, and not sure about how to get to a certain point, and be able to nurture them particularly being a control freak, in the area that you want them to grow in. And I had a very exciting time with it. I haven't found a play that I'm completely committed to that I would like to invest this kind of time, energy, emotion, and ultimately disappointment by putting on a play here. Because what happens is, with Equity Waiver, with any play, an audience doesn't come. We're not a theatrical audience here. We don't go to the theatre. And it's an enormous amount. I would have to find a play that was so much part of me, and I believed in so strongly, that I'd be willing to put up with the disappointment of not having it, just for my input, and just put it on for myself. Yeah. But I have, and I love it. It's good.
Yeah. What was it like to work with Brad?
Well, I unfortunately had very little to do with Brad. Unfortunately. I sat there and watched him working with Scott, and he was phenomenal. But I didn't get a chance to work with him. I think, frightened too much. Well, I mean, I just didn't have much to do with Brad on the set.
Well, these characters, what was really, not only involved as Stanton, but at least Carol was, saying, pushing me off to the stardom. And you said you don't belong there, come all over here. You're back here. Come back, come over here.
Didn't I push you around on the set?
Tell me where to go.
Control freak. Yes.
First, I want to thank you. You were a good because I would spam structure and contrast to Scott and Davis. I wanted to ask you, came up with the background for Zoe and how she ended up where she was, doing what she did as a dancer.
Well, I mean, obviously one sits around and says, one does all that, I do all that. And I came up with about 4 different case histories. I mean, we could run them all by you, but basically the bottom line was that she came from a background where she was never listened to, she was never allowed to say no. So consequently, she had that rage that she walked around with. She had absolutely no respect for anybody else. She was basically a sociopath. Is what she is, but very bright and very funny, and just not fulfilled on any level. Nothing would ever be enough for Zoe. Nothing. And because she'd been the older daughter of this family that eventually just treated her like horrendously, and she had this younger sister that she wanted to protect all the time. The younger sister eventually was taken away, and she was left all alone, and she became this really bad-tempered, nasty, mangy, funny woman who was, really hurting inside, but she was not going to let anyone see it, so she covered it with this very brittle, tough exterior. And of course, when Aaliyah came along, she thought, well, this is perfect, she can take care of her, but put her down all the time. I mean, it's me, she's a control freak. It was me. I mean, what can I tell you? They found perfectly on time. So, there were so many different scenarios we could put in there, but, we always end up. The most brittle and the most frightened people have the softest and the most sensitive inside. And if we'd gone further with that, I guess we could have done a Levy story about why Zoe was the way she was. She certainly was, to coin the 80s phrase, she was obviously codependent and dysfunctional. Needed to be in therapy with Laura Schlesinger and David Scott, and she would have been fine. But she didn't take it, so she ended up as the evil Lever. Yes. Sure.
There's a wonderful article about you in the current issue of Star Trek: The Next Generation magazine, which I thought maybe a lot of the people here would like to know about. But also, could you talk about the differences between working on Star Trek versus working on Quantum Leap?
Thank you. I mean, I actually was John sent me that article this week. It's a very long article. It wasn't supposed to be quite that long, I'm quite surprised. The difference between working... the Star Trek is much more complex. The Quantum Leap, all I had to do was change my hair, but in Star Trek, what happens is that you have that makeup. And my makeup call was usually 4:30 in the morning. And I would be in the makeup chair putting on latex for 3.5 hours. 4:30 ready for 8. And then I'd finish around about 9:30 or 10. It would take an hour to get the makeup off. And then I'd be back in the chair again. And they couldn't call me too early, but I would be back in the chair on a forced call at about 6 in the morning, 6:30, 7. So working on Star Trek is incredibly hard. And they're also such a tight team. They're again, a fabulous bunch of people to work for. The people, I find that the series that require the most commitment, the most work, and the most complex are the ones where the people turn out to be the most patient, the gentlest, the most welcoming, and the least sort of egoic. And it's been true, but Quantum and Star Trek, my 2 favorite shows to work on. They've really been my 2 favorite shows. Yeah.
Okay, both of those are also considered science fiction generally, and I was just wondering if that was true for science. I can shout. If that's true for science fiction shows, if you find a closer camaraderie in the science fiction genre as opposed to other shows.
Yes, I think so. I think so. Because the obstacles that they have to overcome on a daily basis is just so intense. There's always something that's going to go wrong. It requires enormous patience working on those shows. I mean, blue screen is very, very complex and takes a long time. I find, for me, it doesn't like maybe it's just me, but you know, you're constantly, you have to keep thinking on your feet all the time. You just don't go in there and do the character, because you have to really know where it's going, and with the blue screen, and then you've got this happening, and you have the walking in and out of your doors, and all this sort of stuff. I mean, and people, they work against incredible odds, so I think that they tend to be more patient than most. Are there 2 lessons? Okay.
Question over here.
Did you end up developing a really close friendship with Renee?
I did develop a close friendship. She's a wonderful woman and full of energy and very talented. My goodness. But she's great fun and she has a wonderful sense of humor. Yeah, we've become very good friends. I see her a lot.
Renee's not here to answer this, so maybe you could. Is Aaliyah really evil, or is it just Zoe?
No, Aaliyah's not really evil. Aaliyah's been put in a position where she's been blackmailed into being evil. She has no choice but to be that. She doesn't want to. I mean, she has purity in spirit, which is why she's always going through that fight. And why the whole thing is she insane, and why she's allowed to fall in love. Zoe doesn't want. She has some tiny dinosaur type creature somewhere. Snakes and maggots, like a child. Right, just like me. I did when I was a child. I had maggots, and I used to put them in a box and feed them multicolored tissues because I wanted them to come out as a rainbow color for the flies. Disappointment. Major disappointment. Unmet expectations. Sorry about that. So, shall I do you want to ask Brad some questions?
I know they want to. They're dying to see me.
Carolyn?
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you, what really did happen to Aaliyah and Zoe? Are they both dead, or did they just go on to... I don't know.
We've gone back into that ether region where we're just hanging around waiting. No, we haven't. We don't. Yeah.
Did you try out for Zoe, or did they just call you?
No, I did have to go and read for it, but I had done an episode prior to Zoe, because this is down so there was no question that I could be evil. I think there was more the question whether I could be funny and pleasant at the same time. So, but I knew them all so well by then, but I think that they did call me in, but it was one has to, but I think they'd already, thank God, made a decision to cast.
Do you prefer evil characters or?
I do. I'd love to be able to juxtapose evil with the odd nice woman. I occasionally get a really nice mum to play, but she's always a little bit tragic sometimes. But I've kind of chic European women I often play. Yeah, sorry. No. Okay.
How we actually located? Well, I didn't have anything to do with location on the Vietnam episode. It's in Corona. You know, it's about 60 miles from here. Anybody who's been out to Corona, you go, Corona, looking like Vietnam. Well, don't go away. I had them for 3 hours yesterday, so it's something short. They all know everything except for this one little thing. You know my whole life story from beginning to present. I don't know. Never mind. So in any case, you go to Corona, it's cattle. Except where they had this treated water area where the water was running through, and they let all the reeds grow up, and they train hunting dogs back there. And right over the hill, there's a shooting range. So we thought that would work fine for a Vietnam episode. You hear shooting all over Vietnam, what we're doing. So if it bled over into the soundtrack's not a problem. If you got a chance to see the photo album, I've got some pictures of how they built the set. But it's really pretty small. The water, for the most part, was about, a foot deep. And there were a couple of small areas where it got up over my head. Actually, I got myself in trouble. And with the helicopter scene, for those who watch the dailies, the helicopter scene where the helicopter landed in front of the camera, and we all kind of piled in, and it lifted up, and then set back down, we all got out. Well, the chief's hat blew off into the water. And I had all my gear on, and someone I was swimming after, figuring, well, I've got my UVC life vest on, no problem. And as I got halfway out there and I'm over my head, I realized that this was surveyed, so they had cut the back, so this thing wouldn't have worked if I tried to blow it up. And I was getting weighted down by all my gear because I had everything on. I was going, this is great. The seal dies on movie set. Drowning. So I got this hat and I swam back and just remembered how stupid that was. But it's out of Corona. So thanks for the question. The hardest part you didn't see out the corner was the smell. Yeah.
Oh, that I auditioned for, and I'd like to say because, Debbie came and had dinner, but it wasn't really, she saw me in action. But I know I had to go and audition, and by the time I did her, Mrs. Dampers, I sort of had a reputation for being, there are 5 women. You eventually you get put into pigeonholes, you hear it, as actors. And there are 5 women that they call, if they see lean, mean machine, or power hungry, model agency owner, or, all of that stuff. There are 5 women they call into those roles. And I and my 4 other friends all show up for these people. Talk about stuff and the laundry and the shopping and the latest craze, and then go in and audition. So, one of us will get it. It's always the same. That's how.
I have a question for Brad.
Oh yeah, I'm over here. You know I am here.
Where can I get your movie, The Kid Who Wouldn't Quit?
Yes, I'm going to can because I got a tape. I don't know how you're going to get that tape. I really don't.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Go ahead.
Well, how do you... Computer's amazing. It would never occur to me. I wouldn't know how to... I love the idea of being able to have a conversation with friends you never have to meet or talk to, or, you just...
This is our first time that we have been
Of course you have. But I mean, it's so exciting. I mean, technology, it's so exciting, I think. It's also totally confusing to me. I got lost getting here, so the idea of a computer is so frightening. I mean, it's not even coy anymore. My children have them. They know how to, everybody knows how to. I just got a fax machine and I don't know how to. I mean, it doesn't work. I can't. And it's like, so it's ridiculous. Also, I mean, it's another control aspect, I think, for me, that I have to make people do, and I have, it's like, I've got to do this. Yeah, no, I know, but it's also just getting it organized. I'll do it. I mean, everything that I'm scared of, I do.
Good.
I do a lot of extensive interviews. It takes about 3 months to do the interviews and then the analysis and do a fairly extensive review of it using other people's quotes. And I thought that was worthwhile for those who write screenplays. It's not another how-to screenplay. I figure most people know, or if you've done enough magazines to do that, but not enough to really talk to people to find out what are the success stories. How did those people make it through the system? Yeah. Sure. Is your number on here? Okay. Oh, it's amazing. Well, how does this work? When they do, I got a question. I'll get back to you. I'll ask you later. What's your question?
I don't know. Yeah, it's working. It's working. I missed a lot of the talks yesterday. I heard part of it, and I'm the lucky winner of your photo album. Thank you very much. If they give it to me. What sort of things are you doing now in terms of your career?
Well, yeah, you always have to have something that's going to keep you going. I was an engineer and a writer back east, and you know what happened with the government engineering contract. We cut our legs out from underneath us. And right now I'm doing some consulting work for the Diving Equipment Manufacturers Association. I'm building databases and all kinds of other computer-related things. And I'm working with the media guy on the newsletter and press releases, like my hands in the writing. And the great thing about doing this is, one, they met my financial demand. And the other thing was that the executive director, who I directly worked for, is very supportive of what I'm doing in Hollywood as far as writing and moving into acting areas. And so, in fact, one of my great-grandfather was Tiburcio Vasquez, and they're getting ready to do some stuff on it. When I drew a goatee for a part. And they put that picture up against his, and we looked the same. He was eventually caught and hung. He was about my age now, and we're getting ready to think about doing a screenplay on it. So he actually took my headshot and resume and all these photos and made with the goatee and sent it up to his friend who wrote the play called Ben Heaney. So, I just keep pursuing it. Unfortunately, it's not one of those businesses where you can make things happen at certain lower levels. You have to kind of wait for the system to come down and reach you, grab you, and say, we want to use you now. Did that answer your question?
No, I know you all saw me yesterday, but I just couldn't resist coming back and seeing you all. I know the time here, it's so kind of nice, kind of fun, any of you have, questions, to ask me, because I know you asked me a whole bunch of questions the other day. I'm sure some of you have new ones in your mind, so go ahead and pop them. I'm waiting. Right now, I don't have anyone, to be honest with you. But I would like to go back on Quantum Leap. I miss doing those episodes with Scott Feitler. You know, I would like to go back on the show again. You know, I am surprised that Channel 4 NBC took us off. Now, I hope that they will put us back on again, because Quantum Leap and their fans have really enjoyed, you know, watching Quantum Leap. I think it's a shame that they have turned us off. I don't think it's fair. And I would really appreciate it very much if they can get us back.
The realities of the business for an actor, especially starting, is that you're probably going to have to make your own contacts. Most of the people I know that are in the beginning levels have gotten cast because a casting director or a director, a casting director or a director has gotten to know them in some way, seen them somewhere else, and called them in specifically. And my agents don't give me a lot of particular auditions. I've been working on other shows, putting things together. There's a series out now that finally came out on Breakdowns. The day before the Breakdowns came out, I knew what they were going to be, so I called all my friends up I knew would qualify for the various parts. I said, Breakdowns are coming out. It's Frogman. It's about seals. And O.J. Simpson's going to be the bullfrog. I didn't believe, but in any case. So I called all my friends about that, and then on Monday it came out, and it looks like now I'm competing with all my friends. But we network.
For me, it's my agents, really. You know, I know, it's not really even my agents, you know. Casting directors call my agents and say, you know, is she available? And it's a very nice decision. And that's it. I mean, you know, it's an interesting decision because the casting directors all know me, so they call and say, am I available? And then, but the movie parts that because we always want more than we've got. So the movie parts that I want, I don't get to be seen on because I'm not a star and I'm not this and I'm not that, and I'm, you know, it's also categorized in terms of, you know, this film and this TV, and the crossover is obviously, as you can see with Helen Hunt, and everybody's doing the series now, then Brian Dennehy and all this. But the crossover is very simple, but you have like in film, you have the A, B, and C list, you know, and I'm sort of like P. But they have a list, you know, and it's amazing, because the struggle, when you it gets really cutthroat up at A and B, and, you know, but it doesn't, I do TV, and I mean, I'm hoping very much through a movie that I'm aiming to do before the end of this year, that will, you know, change. But it's always that one role that will change everything. It's what keeps the carrot that keeps us going. It's amazing the optimism of the best.
My question is for Carolyn. You were talking a few minutes ago about getting typecast into certain kinds of roles. Do you ever get tired of that and desire to play the heroine?
No. I was trying to think about if I've ever played a heroine. Of course I have played a heroine. You know, I mean, in ruling class I suppose I was a bit of a heroine. And I've played heroines in films that nobody will never see the light of day. I've played the odd heroine, probably that's why it didn't work. I don't play heroines that much. I mean, I don't. I mean, I'm often the power behind the heroine succeeding. But I mean, even when I was young, I didn't play ingenues either. You know, I always looked 40 when I was 15, and you know, now I look 15. Silly answer, but I know I shouldn't play heroines. The power behind the throne.
I have I do enough that at Kmart. I had a question about the show Deliver Us from Evil. The first maybe 10 minutes of the episode, were you a hologram? Because I'm reading the script here and I don't really understand it. It's like,
we had a little bit of confusion, you're right. We had a little confusion with that. Yes, but I am a hologram, absolutely.
so
Yes. I mean, we knew there'd be a problem with that. We knew there'd be a problem. Yes, but Renee too. I mean, she too. But I mean, we both were.
Yesterday we had stories about how people got their agents, and they were quite interesting. So I was wondering, Carolyn would like to know how she got her agent, and I'm just dying to know who your other 4 friends are.
How I got my agent was it's the usual way. You go and you get here. I mean, I came to this country. I knew some people. I didn't work for the first 2 years I was here, so I really didn't know quite who to go to. And then you have to go through this what I had to do was to go through an embarrassing process of meeting everybody and having a short list of agents that I would have liked to have represented me, and go to them and see which of those would like to represent me, as opposed to who. We all try and boost ourselves by saying they're working for us and we'll make a choice, but ultimately they end up making the choice. And I ended up with, I started with ICM and with agents like that, and you get lost in big agencies. And I knew that I was already a tough sell because I was English, and I was already beginning to be the wrong age group. And I may have had a body of work in England, but I certainly didn't have one here. And it was just a process of seeing who was going to work best for you. And I've had 4 since I've been here. I'm not happy with the people that I have. And my 4 other friends, I'm not sure that they'd like it. I mean, I'm not sure they'd like it if I told you who they were. They all of them work a lot. I mean, one of them is Sarah Douglas, who is, we played sisters in England, so, it's like, we go out for the same roles. And then there's Judy Geeson, who's English, who doesn't always play the evil ones, but I mean, is a phenomenal actress. I have, who else do I go out for? Who else do I go out for? It's good. Well, so I go out with all the English women, Samantha Egger, but now it's sort of narrowed down. It depends. I mean, it's usually those 3 when I go, and there's a couple of others who I know don't want to be known as evil. They need machines. Like they would just kill me. So I won't mention it. But Sam doesn't mind because she's English. I mean, but English is immediately relegated to mean. Don't you find that we're all supposed to be evil? The minute we're English, we're evil.
Yes, especially in Quantum Leap. Yes, especially in Quantum Leap. Yes.
I mean, you could be an absolute, have the brain of a dweeb, and you can still people think that you're brightly smart because that's how way of talking is. It gets you a long way sometimes. It's very good with mechanics. It also pisses people off a lot. Husband moved, came here, and got house and brought children. Mother wallet. It was one of the most unwise things on one level for me to do career-wise, but on a personal level, it saved my life. It was one of the greatest things. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do what I guess is known as house talk or something as a minor change. So, do I need to get off the stage for this, for my safety? Okay, I'll just stay right here and talk to you. Go ahead and do what you need to do. I'm going to go ahead and reiterate some rules while things are happening. Do not be alarmed. You'll hear, there you go, a little noise. Uh-oh.
Wait a minute. We're going to have like Jaws and Mr. Spielberg for a moment. Ma'am, you may want to move.
What's going on?
Do not look behind the screen.
Low.
He does it and it stays!
Too high. 5 inches too high.
No. It must stay this way. Yes, we will be moving the table. Look.
Still not trust in them. Yes.
Stay this way.
Hey, people are a union. They know what they're doing.
Move the table and everything forward.
Oh no, that was my fault. Give it back. There we go. No, what we're going to go ahead and do is like reset the stage. And they're going to go ahead and move something around because you guys have been complaining and moaning about where that table is. So we're going to put it in the center. See if Croatia would do that. Well, also what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to have our second guest star panel. They're all downstairs, and when I get on to this magic little thing and tell them to bring them on up, they'll go ahead and do so. Right now I'm doing the sketch. Let me go ahead and she's playing your favorite bus person. We also have the establishing Richard Bird, who, if you saw Briscoe County Jr., Captain Galaxy, who's also become the president. Then there is Otto. Come here, Otto. Yes. Otto Clauber, who was the person who got bombed by Scott, who's also a gopher. This is all. Oh. I missed counting downstairs. Ladies and gentlemen, here's your panel. Yay.
Why don't I start? Anybody have a question for Liz or Otto or myself? You want to please stand up and be recognized. Fire away. Any questions? Any questions? Any money?
Anybody have sunglasses?
Well, how have you all been? Are you all from this part of the country, or have you Anybody? England? Ireland, did you say? Florida. Anybody here from Boston? Good. And Liz, where are you from?
Puerto Rico.
What part?
I'm from New York.
Oh, I'm from New York also, but I went to Puerto Rico. My family's from Ponce.
My mother's from Humacao.
Oh, very close. Humacao is very beautiful. Oh, this is so rare. You know, Puerto Rico is a tiny little island in the Caribbean. Whenever you meet anybody from there, it's such a miracle. And you too? Oh, you have a question?
Stand up and yell out.
Liz, you were great in that part. It was so My question is there anything in the works now that any of the three of you will be starring in so we can see more of the three of you?
Yes,
Your mouth and God's ears.
that would be too much fun. You know, these two just, no, it's very funny in this industry, but I don't know about you, Otto, but I find that friends don't generally work together. You have great friends. Individually, you mean? Well, I'm on the John Lyro-Ken show. Thank you. I'm having such a good time. It's on Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock. Opposite Roseanne. Now you don't know
nothing's going to beat Roseanne. I mean, it's just, her show is just too good. Her show's too good, but we're hoping that it will get moved. And we're on in the month of March, we're on a whole hour. We do 2.5 hours at the month of March at 9 o'clock at Channel 4. Please watch.
How many of you watch Sequest? We have 2 more shows to do, and go home, say your prayers, and get pickup. We've done 24. And on March 5th, tune in, I've done a new Aaron Spelling show. It's called Winnetka Road. It's on NBC, and the pilot, we did 6 of them. The pilot goes on March 5th. And my wife, Patricia, she's here somewhere. My wife recently, she came on Sequest after auditioning and competing. She played Mrs. Noyce, Admiral Noyce's wife. She's out there, I guess, looking at the various stands. And we also did a play recently called The Walkers. First time we did a play together, I mean opposite each other. And that certainly was a lot of fun. But things are well, and I'm very, very grateful, and I hope all is well with you. And the 3 of us being here, we're just delighted, and delighted that you were able to make it. His auto, do his commercial.
Friday night at 9. Not a lot of TV or film work recently. I've been doing a lot of theater, going back to my first lady. I love theater. And I've recently been working with a bunch of people, and keep your fingers crossed. I'm going to be producing. No. Production, an adaptation, hopefully if I can get the rights from, for Patty Chayefsky's Marty. Which has only been done as a television play and a film. It's starring Rod Steiger in the television play and Ernest Borgnine in the film, and on stage, me. Scott. Musical and call it Meaty. So that's what's going on with me.
Questions.
Richard? Sorry, will your... Stand up? Where are you? Yeah.
Will your character be reoccurring on Briscoe County Jr.?
Well, you know, I'll tell you, that was fun because I like Billy Drago. I've worked with Billy Drago. Billy Drago's a great guy. These two fellas I worked with, I had never met them before. It was just delightful. So when I mean, how can you say no? It was only one scene, but I loved it. I mean, how can you say no to Grover Cleveland? I've never played a president. So I had to play a president, especially one that was elected and then missed the term and was elected again. And evidently the most honest president we've ever had. So when we were through shooting the scene, which took most of the day, I asked, is it Bruce Campbell?
Yes.
Bruce, very, very, very good young man, fine actor. I said, who do I buttonhole to get back on this show? I want to come back as this character. So he told me to go see this guy, track down Carlton Coos, I believe his name is, the producer. Well, I did. I found him. I tracked him down that day. And it happens he's from Boston, that's where I found him. And I started talking about it. I said, look, you know, now they should come to Washington. He said, wait a minute. He says, we're thinking about having you back for the closing show. It's a 2-parter. They're going to do a 2-parter. And the second part of the 2-parter, evidently, they get into a lot of trouble, and the only one that they can get as their witness to say that they are federal agents is Grover Cleveland. So say a prayer. Hopefully I'll be back on Briscoe County.
How long have you been married, and what was it like working with your wife on stage?
We have been married, let me see, we had our 15th Valentine's Day.
Oh, wow.
15th. We met 16 years ago this Christmas Eve, and we will be married 14 years this April. And I met her on Christmas Eve. I had a wonderful Christmas party thrown by a friend of mine. You might know him, the actor Jerry Hardin. He's done a lot of things. As a matter of fact, he did Mark Twain on Star Trek. Yeah, he did a Mark Twain. It was very good. And he's doing a Mark Twain one-man show, as a matter of fact. he invited us over. It was a wonderful party because it had children and moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas, and Pat and I met there. I guess, you know, it was love at first sight, but it took a little while, and you know, she's such a lovely, wonderful, not only my wife that I love, but my friend. And being on stage together, I always kind of skirted doing that. But what happened, we had, somebody had asked us to give a class, and Pat and I never worked with each other. Pat had been with Vice Scholar for 10 years, theater games. So we gave a class together, and it worked out very, very nicely. We didn't get in each other's way. It was a very nice, we didn't think that was going to happen. You know, people kind of creatively get in each other's way, but that was a beautiful experience. Then when we did Sequest together, that was even more fun. So when this play came along, it seemed like so right for both of us, we did it, and it was just wonderful going to the theater with her in the evening and running our lines in the car, and, you know, sharing the same dressing room, and I got fabulous reviews in the LA Times, but the critic said that she outdistanced me. She got better reviews, and that's okay too. She's a wonderful actress, and it was really a pleasure. Thank you for asking her. And I wish you all the same kind of happiness in your life.
That's so weird because, well, when I was in college, I directed my girlfriend in a play, and we made an agreement that we would keep it at the work theater, and then when we went home, it was just us, and it was just a relationship. I had to dodge things being thrown at me. How dare you stand up to me, man? Come on.
How about wait 20 years?
Well, I'm no longer with her because...
You have a question?
Yes, Richard, this is for you. I saw you on V, and you was a wonderful character on that series.
You're supreme command.
Do you like or enjoy doing science fiction type of shows as opposed to the other?
I enjoy any role that is a mover, a shaker, or I never play a villain like a bad guy. That's the number one thing I never do. I just play it like everybody, only he happens to do ugly things. You know, because most of the people, all you do is turn on television, and most of the people you say, oh, that guy, it's impossible. That guy could kill those 12 men and bury them under his house. Yeah, you know, it's just, and tight casting. I like roles like that because I find there are a lot of leading men roles. I've always been a character lead. But a lot of leading men roles are like wallpaper. You know, things happen around them, not to them. People are always appendages to them. Whereas the senator or the corporate leader or the general or the guy that's in command, it's difficult. You get a lot of nominations, but you don't win the award because very few people vote for the bad guy. And I really enjoy doing those things because they're different and they're movers. They're kind of a motor. They're not passive, so they're fun roles to play. But I'm playing more now. I'm having the opportunity now to play more fathers. I played a grandpa recently. I played grandpa and a father in Winnetka Road, and I play what I call closer to the way I started in New York in the business, just as a person involved in situations where things happen, just like they happen to all of us. But I enjoyed doing B. They were between a rock and a hard place there. They didn't know whether to do another miniseries. They were going to do a movie, and they had the biggest numbers they ever had at ABC, and they did it as a series. It was too expensive at that time, and they had to drop it. Sequest now is the most expensive show, I'll tell you.
Liz?
I'm sorry, I heard a rumor that they were planning on moving Sequest to Orlando. Is that?
That's a rumor. Yeah, that's a rumor. Nothing has been decided yet because none of those things can be done until they pick up a show. And what they want to do, which is only natural, is they've got to bring down, and they have brought it down $300,000 the price of the show. Because every week they have to meet $1 million until it goes into syndication. And that's why it would behoove them to do another year.
From Orlando?
Yes.
They need it down there, the state of Florida. We'd love to come.
Yeah, we have the facilities, and we'd like to see more production come in.
Help the whole community. You work for the business. Liz, you want to speak to Liz?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
I really enjoyed the John Larroquette show. I like the articulate perverse humor.
Thank you. all of it is scripted. These writers are incredible.
They're brilliant.
Oh, they are brilliant. I had worked with John Rio, who's a producer-writer, 20 years ago. It's very funny to be working with him again. I worked with him at a show that he produced called The Unofficial Miss Las Vegas Showgirl Pageant. I'm not proud. And I worked with him on something called the Comedy Hour, and it was just a group of comics getting up and I did stand-up comedy years ago. And 20 years later, here we are working together. Everything is scripted. It's brilliantly constructed, I think. It took me a long time to admit that I was on such a well-crafted show because I'm so used to shining and sorry, excuse me, but if you followed my career, it's been really brilliant. And I've done a lot of really bad shows. So when I first started doing My Own Cat, it took me like 3 or 4 weeks to finally admit that yes, this is really a fine show as I think it is. It's really good because a lot of people that I respect said so. More than my own feelings, I was afraid to surrender that, and I'm really proud to be a part of it. And I love John. Oh, we'll know the middle. The question is, will we be picked up for next season? God, I hope so. Oh, please. We did 9. I mean, we did 4, and then they picked up the rest. The back 9, they call it, and it's our first year. And we did a whole season plus 2, and we'll know, I guess, in the middle of the summer when.
I just had a question to ask you about the V series. Do you know if they've released them on video or anything? Because I just started getting into it.
Would you stand up and I can hear you there?
Well, the V series that you used to be in.
Yes.
I've just started getting into the videos and the books and everything. I wanted to know if you can find them on video or anything. Because I tried all the video stores and they don't even have it on file or in existence anymore.
Yeah, it is. I know it's running all over the world, but I've seen it somewhere. Have you called Eddie Brand's Matinee Theater in North Hollywood?
No.
A place called Eddie Brand, B-R-A-N-D-T. Call Eddie Brand. And then call, let's see, we did that for NBC. Where did I do that? We did that on the Burbank studio. The Burbank studio. Call the Burbank studio and ask for their, who would they ask? No. Ask for the distribution department. Distribution and syndication. Ask for distribution and syndicate. First of all, call Eddie Brand. I know they're out on tape, I believe. If you ask for distribution and syndication, they'll tell you it's being distributed and syndicated, and then they'll tell you can ask them if it's on tape and where it's available. That's the best. That way you'll get a definitive answer.
And if you don't live in the area, Eddie Brand's has an 800 number. So just call
Yeah.
them directly. Their mail order is if it's on videotape, Eddie Brand will know where to get it.
That's the place. B-R-A-N-D-T. In the valley.
I saw the series when it first came out, and I just thought, I loved it. Because I'm a total sci-fi addict. And when it first came out, now I'm starting to read the books, and I want to start seeing the series over again.
Sure.
If I can find it, that'd be great.
If it's out there, Eddie Brand will.
Yes.
Oh.
Here you have it.
Yeah, this is a question for Otto. Marty is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love it. I love the characters and the whole situation. Why Marty? What was it that attracted you?
I hadn't seen it. I heard of it. I think when I was in grad school. One thing as an actor, especially if you're a stage actor, you're always looking for new audition material. Lauren Lawrence Lott, who was a terrific actor and a very good friend, who died about 4 years ago of AIDS. But he was one of our coaches there at the time. He was a visiting lecturer. And I went up to him one day and I said, Larry, I need something new, to do. And he said, look at Marty. And I went, who's Marty? Marty who? And so I looked in it and found a monologue from it. And I was extremely moved. And, sorry?
Which monologue? Which one?
Oh, it's kind of pieced together from the scene where they're at the dance, and it starts out, I cry all the time, any little thing, that one. And the whole piece moved me, I think, because it's delved into my personal life, ladies and gentlemen. I experienced, especially up until I think the time I finished grad school, I experienced a lot of the self-doubt that Marty experiences, and the feelings of being extremely unattractive, and putting things in really nice terms. But I experienced that, so it really touched me, it really moved me, and so I got in with this group of people who were doing theater, and I said, it's one of the projects that I want to do. And they said, we can get the rights somehow from, and terrific.
Really hope you get them because I love being on stage.
You live in the area? We're being in LA?
Yeah.
Terrific.
Okay, we have a question for Liz. Hi Liz, first off I'd like to say you have a beautiful voice, that was you singing, and it's a wonderful read. Secondly, at the beginning of the show, after Sam supposedly ran you over, how did he get you under the car and back out? Because I didn't see you under a roller or anything that would have pulled you back out. I thought he pulled you with your legs or something, but I thought
He did.
roller or anything?
No. How did I get under there? Gingerly. I had a lot of padding. I mean, I had the coat and I had and obviously my body, but the clothes kept me from peeling. And Scott's very, very strong. He's got a beautiful body. It's obvious that this man works out. He's very built. He's got the greatest rear end on anybody. And he's very strong. And he just whipped me around like, and yes, that was me thinking. Yes, that was me thinking. Thank you for asking.
It wasn't her speaking, but it was
Liz, I also think you've got a wonderful voice. I just want to know, were you opera trained?
Pardon me?
Were you opera trained?
Yes, I was. I studied in New York with Jory Livingston. I had several operating scholarships around town, and I never pursued it. I didn't have enough, I think, support around me to pursue it, but that training really holds up now in my later years. I vocalize, I try to vocalize a little every day, and it's done me well. Thank you.
Hi, Richard, I just wanted to ask you about working on the last episode. Did you know what was the last episode? What was it like on the set then?
First of all, my wife, Pat, are you out there? Yeah. Okay. Where are you? Stand up. There's my wife. Give her a big applause. There it is. That's Mrs. Mo's time. I'm going back in time and I'm going to give her those calla lilies. I'm going to give her those calla lilies. Well, the way that happened, that was a wonderful thing because John called me and he checked the availability and told me it may be the last show. They weren't certain. And they had written two endings. There were two endings. There was the ending where it was going to be the last show, and there was the ending where it wasn't going to be the last show. So we got two endings, which we would have filmed, both endings. Now, there's an unusual thing there. You might, Mike Genovese, wonderful actor who's now down in Louisville doing Death in the Main, was in the very first Quantum Leap. And he was in, so Don got people like that, and he put them in the very last Quantum Leap, Mike. Don also brought in, that bar, as you know, is his hometown in Cokesbury, Pennsylvania. And he brought up 3 of his uncles.
Oh.
3 of his uncles were on the set there, and his kids, and Don himself was in the show, as you know. And Jimmy Whitmore, who I had worked with long before he was a director. I worked with Jimmy as an actor. And there were a lot of people we had all worked together. And I have to tell you, that show, that's the best show I ever worked on. It's the best show I ever worked on because it wasn't even like, it wasn't even a job. It was so easy. But that's because of Scott and Dean. They made that nice feeling on the set. And I just wanted to keep on doing Quantum Leaps, you know. And they did, as you know, in that show, they brought in, they made it work for Galaxy. He thought he saw within this guy, this halfway house of purgatory. And, you know, if it had gone on, there would have been another way to bring us all back. You know, we would have all come back in one form or another, and that was the wonderful thing about Don, and Tommy, and Scott, and Dean. It was that kind of feeling on that show. So it was a nostalgically sad feeling with the hope that there was no way they weren't going to bring the show back. We just, you know, thought it was a given, but it wasn't. But above everything else, I'm glad, and I count myself a very lucky person. Never mind just having done the show, but meeting such wonderful people in the industry. And most of them, you see, I don't want to say it, but they're both from the theater. You know, there's something that you learn, and they knock you down pretty soon in the theater, so you don't get that star complex. You always remember that you're an actor. And that's what we worked with on Quantum Leap. We worked with actors and people that had appreciation and a respect for their work. Thank you.
Hi, this is for Liz. I was just working on that episode. That wonderful line. That's not how it goes, sin vergüenza. Is that yours? And I'm not loud. I'm Puerto Rican because I'm Puerto Rican here.
Aren't we? Sin vergüenza, she asked if some of the dialogue, the Spanish dialogue, was mine. What on the episode, because I played a Puerto Rican, which is a stretch. Don called me in, and I had done a tequila and Benetti, and they called me in. I love the dog. They called me in, and he said he was going to have one especially written for me. And in all my years of television, I had that. I mean, that never happens. So I met with Peter Brown, who's this brilliant, brilliant young man. In fact, he wrote one of my favorite lines. He said he was talking about somebody kissing him, and he said, "She kissed me, and I felt as if she was breathing life into me." Well, he's just a brilliant, brilliant writer, and he sat with me, and he said, "Yeah, this idea," and we hashed it out. We talked about it, and there it was in the script. He was wonderful. He's terrific. Thank you for
You had me rolling out. I am running a real-time conference on GD computer service, and we were wondering if any of you would be interested in coming to be guests. And I know the other online services would love to ask the same question. Computer online services. I know Otto used to be on Prodigy. I don't know if he still is.
No, Prodigy said that they wanted way too much money, and so I said goodbye. Judy and I was on GD before I was on Prodigy, and for some reason they decided to bill me for things that I never ever even thought of doing.
If you'd like to come talk to us, you know, we can arrange a guest account. And I know I can dance
It's a computer online information service that you call in through your computer via a modem and communicate.
With an online conference, everybody's online at the same time, and for a formal guest star to be, somebody would ask a question, you get a chance to answer, and then get a follow-up question, and you answer, and then the next guy in line gets asked that question.
Like the Iran-Contra hearings in there.
It's kind of like question and answer, so only.
I don't have to join again to do this, do I?
No. If you don't have a computer with a modem,
I do.
we have people who can provide something.
It says 2400, but it gets me there. So I'm more than happy to, sure.
Well, there's information on the paper or something.
Okay.
And if you're interested, you can write me.
Perfect. Okay.
Are you interested in that, Pat?
Yeah.
Liz, over here on your left. When I first saw It's a Wonderful Leap, you looked awfully familiar, and I could not remember where I'd seen you from. Could all of you give us a rundown on your early career, how you got started in show business?
I was a singer, dancer, actor in New York. I went to NYU. I danced with a troupe in Las Vegas called the Saints and Sinners. Then I came back to New York. I was blonde. Naturally. And I came back to New York and started doing stand-up comedy, and I was the darling of the Tonight Show in the 70s, only because the Tonight Show used to be taped out of New York, and I'm from New York, and I was one of the few comics that didn't mind getting bumped. So if somebody didn't make it, they would call me. I'd be on the subway in there in 2 minutes. And so I did a lot of Tonight Shows. I opened for Liza Minnelli, Tony Bennett, and Lee Eckstein, people like that in the nightclub circuit. I was on Phyllis with Cloris Leachman and All of the Family with Carol O'Connor, and Checking In with Marla Gibbs, which was the first show when she moved out of the Jefferson household. Anyway, so I've done a lot of television, and I've been around a long time, and I'm grateful to be here.
Next.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that from? I just had a whisper. I have passed. Sorted. How did I get started? I think I've wanted to be an actor ever since I was like in first or second grade, and you do the school play and everyone's happy. I used to. They would write on my report cards. I was a strange child. When we would read out loud in class, I would have different voices for the different characters. And I was the only kid in class that did that, so they thought of checking me in somewhere. But it really started for me in junior high school. I went all through high school, and I think when I was 12, I decided that's what I wanted to do, and nothing much didn't stop me from doing it. I went to college at California State University, Stanislaus, in Turlock, California. Central Valley? I was born and raised in Modesto. It's not the end of the world, but you can see it from there. I was living in LA, and I'm driving to visit my parents for Christmas one time, and it was foggier than hell. And I got lost, and I was following a truck, and he turned off, and so I turned off because I couldn't see a thing. And I went, where the hell am I? Am I in Madera? What's going on? And then I heard, it's drawing me home. So I went to Cal State Stanislaus, very small school, but you got to work all the time, and I learned a lot there. Did my graduate work at UC Irvine in acting. UC Irvine started doing regional theater, Shakespeare festivals and things like that. Moved to LA, I became a production assistant on Quantum Leap. Worked as a PA for 6 months. A PA is basically an indentured servant. We have to get a script out, Otto. You'll be here till 3 in the morning. And then Paul Brown Brown, bless his heart, one day came in and said, "Can you do me a favor?" They sent the wrong guy from Central Casting for this non-speaking part of the production assistant on Disco Inferno. That was the second day of shooting, and he was angry. And so I said, sure, whatever, get me out of this office. And I knew it was a non-speaking part, and I didn't have my SAG card at the time. And he said, "You want your SAG card?" And I said, "Is it pig's ass pork?" So they gave me lines in the set. I got my SAG card and got an agent that week. And thank you. She's laughing at me. I love her. From there, I did a Knots Landing and Freddy's Nightmares, and then Paul called me one day, and I said I had good news and bad news, and I said, "What's the bad news?" He said, "You might have to shave your head." What's the good news? I've been chosen to stand with a tambourine at the airport. What's, in orange robes. But he said the good news is you have a week's worth of work coming up in about a month. I wrote you a part in All Americans. And I went, thanks. And so I did that, and then Private Dancer came up and he wrote the part of the bartender for me. And if you notice, the bartender's name is Otto. I don't know why he doesn't write. I went to him one day, I said, "Paul, Mike, Phil, something. I can wait a person other than your name." It's and so, but I couldn't do it because I just had knee surgery. So, and then a couple of films, and I'm really just starting as far as film and TV work is concerned. But let's do some more. I want to work. You know.
Very enjoyed listening to both of you. Is it pig's ass pork? No, I don't think so. I like it. I've been a member of Actors Equity, well, I'll share it with you, 40 years. Actors Equity, and I was in community theater in Boston long before that, where Leonard Nimoy was from. Folks from everywhere. I was born and brought up in the south end of Boston, so you had to be a priest, a gangster, or an actor. That was it. And my first show I did with a guy who was still in the business, he's in New York. Well, like, kind of my first show with the Boston Catholic Theater, where Bernie Kessler played Jesus. I was the left thief, and Donnie Perkins was the right thief. That was it. There we were, all these skinny kids up on a cross, with loincloths, all these nuns weeping. Because they were called passion plays. I did a lot of passion plays as a young man. Did another one as a roaring lion. All kind of, but they were fun because I was a drummer before that. I was a musician in high school. And I played all over Boston, and I thought that was going to be my life. I wasn't very good. But I loved doing it, and that's how I got into the theater. Actually, one of the rehearsal halls, a bunch of actors. I met a bunch of people from Harvard and all those, BU and so forth. And I ended up doing a radio show. And from that, I got an apprenticeship while I was in high school at Boston Summer Theater with Lee Falk and Al Capp. And I had to work 2 years before I got my equity card, doing all sorts of things. And I worked with Vincent Price, Veronica Lake, Alexis Smith, Victor Jory. All these people came through doing shows. And when they came through, you had to be ready. They rehearsed you all week. They rehearsed you for 5 days. This actor would come in, and you'd go out, and you'd only do the cues. He would give you the cues, and you would do your part, and then you would open the next night. You had never done the whole play. That was really fun. Then I did a ton of summer theater, live television, and more radio, road shows. Yeah, I did. I'll never forget. I went to have lunch with a friend of mine who was on The Secret Storm, Wayne Tippett, a very fine actor. And we had done a couple of plays together. My agent got a call the next day that Gloria Monty, she saw me and she said, we had this trial coming up. This guy, give him a week's work. So I had never done such a big part. I'd done these smaller parts on live television. And I'll never forget my first entrance, which is a big trial scene. And Cecil Parker, who employed me, he was the older legal guy. And he looked at me and said, Dick, 27 million people watching live. Come on. I went on, and then Gloria come down during the commercial breaks, because the commercials were live, too, that time. And she'd give us changes. She'd give us, cut, you know when you say that, cut this, do this, do that. Yeah, that was different. That was, and you had to be young and fearless. You had to be stupid. Anyway, so I did all that, and here, you know, rather than going through all that, I've been very fortunate. I've had my ups and downs. Everybody does in this business. You have some ups and downs, but you just have to survive it. I think my greatest loss in the business are all the people that I felt were terribly gifted and talented that fell by the wayside because of the toughness of our business, especially in New York, and the enormous amount of rejection. There are some people that can just get in there and act and sing and dance. They can do the job. They can do the job, but they can't get the job, and they can't get the agent because they're not what you call a result actor, which you have to be. You've got to be all kinds of actors in this business, but you've got to learn how to do an audition. You know, otherwise you're not going to get the meat and potatoes. And most of the people, my 4 favorite actors are no longer in the business. And they get out of the business in their 30s. They all went and got PhDs, and they're all teaching or whatever. And I keep in touch with them. And every once in a while they go on a sabbatical, and it's my pleasure to go out and see them do something, because I still feel that way about them. They're very gifted, talented people. But you got to have a very hard skin. And I remember I had an agent once that said, it's a tough business, and make sure you're not the body they step over. You know, that kind of thing. But I got fortunate. I haven't been in Hollywood long. I was in New York. I did Kojak. I got some film at Universal. They brought me out. I did a pilot for a series with Christine Lottie and Nick Mancuso called Shack, which didn't sell, which became a movie of the week. Then I had my film. I started working and doing movies like Fist, The China Syndrome, The Onion Field, I Never Promised You a Rose Garden, Private Benjamin, All the President's Men, Trancers, which is a cult film. And I did Summer Rental with Liz's great guy, John Larroquette, who's a wonderful actor. We did that with John Candy and Rip Torn, Karen Austin. Then I got lucky, I met my wife. It's the luckiest thing that happened out here. I did T.J. Hooker and V. I did Rock Hudson's last series, Devil Connection. And, you know, things went on Sequest, and then hopefully Winnetka Road will be picked up. And I try to go back that night, go to New York as often as we can to do a play, or go to the Berkshire Theater Festival, the Cleveland Playhouse, San Diego. You've got to go away and kind of get in touch with yourself again, you know, because that's why you got into the business. I know Liz being from New York, you got into the business because you didn't know what Hollywood was. You really didn't get into the business for money. We're all grateful that we make a living. But I think if you go to do something for the love of doing it and you can gain the skill and the craft, because most people, they don't study. They think it's a miracle. You've got to study. I'm going to end this, but here I am. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, I'm from England. I've travelled nearly 6,600 miles just to be here. This is my second convention. This is directed at Richard. Like most Stephen, are you interested in Shakespearean roles, i.e. the Scottish play?
I've done them, yeah. I was at the Helen Hayes Repertory Theatre Company, and we toured. I remember, well, like in 12th night, I'd done that twice. I did Orsino, and then I did Sir Andrew Aguchi with David Carradine. David played Sebastian, as a matter of fact. Then I did Petruchio, Henry V, a couple of small parts in Hamlet. I think I played the ghost in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, one or the other. I would dearly love to go back. I've always enjoyed I found with Shakespeare that you never have to really take the book home. It's like any good play or any good, well, it's like Quantum Leap, really. You didn't have to study that much. It kind of was written that way that made sense. Shakespeare's the same way. You don't really have, it's easy. It comes to you. It's easy. No, I enjoy the classics. As a matter of fact, right now I'm working on O'Neill's A Moon for the Misbegotten, which we're trying to get up. And then my wife and I, during the reading of the Classical Theatre Lab, although Casey's Juno the Paycock on March 20th, and I've been kind of sniffing around Falstaff. You know, pad up a bit and do it. But I think you do all those, even if you don't do them well, they help you, they kind of expand you a bit. It's, you know, you should embrace failure. You should attempt things that, and if they don't work and they fail, it's difficult, you can get depressed, but you should embrace failure because at least you gave yourself the opportunity to fail. Yes? Someone? Right there.
In what way do you feel that you benefited the most from your experience on Quantum Leap?
In what way did we benefit the most from our experience on Quantum Leap? As actors. Well, for me, it gave me my start in film and TV, you know, acting, which is a different animal than working on the stage. And I learned that. Because when you do this on stage, it's no big deal, but when you have a close-up and you do this, people go, he has a nervous tick or something. So I ain't saying anything. So Quantum Leap for me was my start in film and TV, and I'm going to be forever grateful to them. And it was a terrific experience. I've never worked with in my life more really terrific, supportive, wonderful people, genuine people. And Scott Beckler, Dee Stockwell, Don is terrific. Paul Brown, I'll be indebted to him for a long, long time for giving me the chance to work in TV and film. And that's good enough, I guess.
Last question.
I promised my children I would ask Liz if she has a son named Danny, because there's an actor named Danny Torres, spelled the same way, on one of the shows they watch. And so I promised them I would ask you that.
No, Torres is like Smith. Yes, it is like, there are thousands of Torreses. And I understand that there was a Torres on Columbus's first ship and second ship. And God only knows what they did in Spain to deserve that reward. So, no, I wish I had a son named Danny Torres, but I don't.
Okay, I'm going to take one more.
Yeah. Chris, you decide. You make the call.
Hi. Since we just heard about the mention of the Scottish play, we've heard a lot about theater superstitions. I was wondering if there are any television superstitions, like not mentioning the Scottish play.
Don't plug the TV in when you just come out of the shower.
Vicky, Mrs. Torres, Otto, and Mr. Hurd. Okay.